Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Discard for Magic.
So what have we got for us for stats? We were wondering, there was a lot of hubbub about the Groaks and the Crimson Order.
Yes, indeed. Let me bring that up. All right, so yes, first of all, I'm guessing people want to know how the newest stuff is doing. So I ran stats just for 2024. So that would include, I believe, a little bit before Groaks and Forged came out, and then their entire existence, and obviously the new faction's entire existence. Yeah, so let's let you know the newer stuff first. Crimson Order is doing well. They're at 54.2% overall. Deepwood Groaks are the highest. So those two are the highest numbers, it looks like. Deepwood Groaks are 56.1%. Of course, Deepwood Groaks are the ones we're most aware of needing an eventual change.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing pretty good if, like, their win rate is 6% over 50, and
right.
That's too much. We got to change that.
Well, I definitely keep in mind that for the global stats, like, in my opinion, things trend towards 50% because you've got a lot of players at a lot of different skill levels playing.
Right, and the Groaks are particularly, like, I suck with them. So they particularly have a high ceiling that not everybody has figured out.
Colby's just been bringing down their win rate on purpose. Right. He's just been tanking it.
Tournament win rates are a little more telling in that, but then also tournament win rates usually involve some kind of modifications to the decks.
That's true, and their small sample size, so it's hard. I need to come up with, the perfect sequel statement that'll take, like, the top 100 players and all their games against each other or something like that. That would be interesting to see. But the Vargath are right at 50.02%.
Perfect.
This year.
The most perfect deck.
Let's see. Shimmer Sea Fae, people had suspected they might be struggling. Looks like they are. They're at 43.5%. They're the lowest deck, it looks like. And Storm Goblins right at 49.5.
There was a lot of worry on Shimmer Sea Fae that they were going to be too strong, like, in playtesting because of their ability to hit along a lane multiple times.
Yeah, well, that hasn't come to fruition yet, but, it's early. Sometimes these people figure things out still. And then the Forged are at 53.5%. So
also pretty high, yeah.
Pretty strong, yeah. That's in line with, Cave Goblins. And
how have Cave Goblins done since the introduction of the Crimson Order?
I can look at that matchup. So let me go to my matchup tab here.
Oh, he's got a matchup tab, everybody. Got a fancy boy on our hands.
Well, I was gonna see if you guys wanted to guess, because I can't just really look at this and look at it.
We guessed that was one of the worst matchups. Like, people were very concerned about Cave Goblins versus Crimson Order.
That doesn't look that bad to me. That's 61% for Crimson Order.
Oh.
So is that the Cave Goblins' worst matchup? Let's see.
Feels like it when you play it.
The Cave Goblins are also kind of known for
swingy matchups,
not having a lot of weak matchups.
Looks like actually the Forged are their worst matchup, so they are losing 2/3 of those games.
We try to test 4 matchups, like, we try to make changes to stuff to help out certain bad matchups, but ultimately, I don't think we get too concerned about it because it's kind of the nature of an asynchronous game.
Right.
As the game continues to grow, eventually, like, there's going to be more and more factions, and when you get into, like, 20, 30 factions, if you have one bad matchup, it's not the end of the world.
If I looked at the Crimson Order, give me your prediction of, well, let me see if Cave Goblins are their best matchup. Looks like Cave Goblins are their best matchup, so that's that. But how about their worst matchup? What do you think?
Maybe either Shadow Elves or Sand Goblins, I would think. What do you think, Aaron?
Sand Goblins might be it.
Gotta be something big, right?
I feel like Phoenix Elves can deal with them pretty well.
Or maybe it's a boring answer like the Groaks.
It is not. It's interesting. Now, I don't know if the sample size is small. Probably not, but it's actually the Storm Goblins.
Oh, that checks out.
Beat them 61% of the time.
Yeah, that makes sense because they have a lot of, they went out there Sacral Priest buffing and
Yeah, that looks like their only real bad matchup. Fallen Kingdom, they only win 45%. Sky Spear, 47%. That definitely checks out, but that's almost 50% at that point. So, wait. There's more columns. Okay, but that's all. That all still stood.
Where's the Crimson Order versus High Elves at? Because in the league, we were surprised that the High Elves lost that a lot.
They lose it in general play too, 64%.
So it's another Crimson Order favorite.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so how about the Grokes? Let me see here.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising because High Elves have some meat on them. And Crimson Order is like obviously benefits from.
Yeah, and they must benefit a lot from the laws and stuff.
So the High Elves struggle to kill the Warriors quickly, and the Warriors can like hit a Justice and then like use Transfuse and just kill the Justice off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the Warriors can do enough damage to kill a piece straight out, which doesn't normally happen with most other factions.
And the High Elves don't have a lot to punish a Crimson Order player that is over damaging their summoner.
All right, how about the Grokes? What do you think about their best matchup, which I'll tell you is right at 66%?
I feel like Fungal Dwarves struggle with the Grokes a lot, but I don't know if that's going to be their best matchup.
The Grokes win 58% of that.
Yeah.
Vanguards,
they win 62%, so that is another bad one. But it is actually Storm Goblins.
Nice.
66% of those.
The Storm Goblins giveth and they taketh away.
And then how about their worst? Let me see. What do they got under 50%?
Shadow Elves, maybe?
Let's see if they don't have any under 50%. That's not a good sign.
Although Shadow Elves are a weird one because when they're played at the highest level, they're so strong, but they're so hard to play.
Yeah.
Right.
They probably wouldn't show up in these stats. I mean, some people have said Cave Goblins are good against them, or maybe even Wayfarers, like those aggressive decks.
Wayfarers could
Yeah,
be.
Cave Goblins, they win 51%, so these are close. 50% for Crimson Order, and the Grokes beat the Wayfarers 60%.
So Wayfarers is not it.
All right, what do we got here? Mountain Vargath. So, what do you think?
Straight 50%. Everybody.
All their matchups are 50%.
50%. Actually, it does look remarkably consistent. They have 161% matchup. Give it a guess, although I don't know what the logic of this is.
Who do they win against 61% of the time?
Maybe like Breakers? Breakers struggle to deal with like...
Let's see.
Breakers can hang back on them though, can't they?
Breakers, they win 54%.
Okay.
So pretty fair. It is actually the Swamp Orcs.
Whoa, I would not have expected that.
I would never have guessed
Like
that.
I said, I don't know what the logic is there. It might be random. How about their worst matchup? They have, let's see, I'm seeing a 43. Oh, a 41. Ooh, then that's interesting. Okay.
People are suggesting maybe Storm Goblins are bad because they have to group up.
That would make sense.
They win that a little bit, 53%.
Yeah, I didn't feel like that one was terrible. I want to say Grokes, but I don't think it's Grokes.
No, it's not. They're at 49% there, so they're one of the ones who can match up. It's actually Phoenix Elves, 41%.
Phoenix Elves is their worst matchup. Interesting.
Yeah.
You can't use your forces to pull to get at Maldaria.
Right, Maldaria's protections actually work against them.
But I've never felt ill-equipped when I'm the Mountain Vargath going up against the Phoenix Elves.
They still have some tools to get at her with like martial forces and Varn and stuff.
I think maybe you have to adjust. I think I'm not playing at peak efficiency. I'm not up on what all the best strategies are. Maybe you need to adjust strategy to go against the Phoenix Elves.
It looks like Shimmer Sea Fae's best match. They don't have great matchups, but they are winning 57% against the Fungal Dwarves.
I thought about that one because of like when you rebuke a carrier, it's really annoying.
Yeah, you can rebuke the starting carrier, and then they might not find a carrier ever. Their engine just
High
dies.
Tide also pushes you into their side, and those garden factions really want to take some time to grow.
Yeah, that's true.
If you push real fast at the Fungal Dwarves, they don't normally do very well.
And then their worst matchup also versus the Phoenix Elves, 36%.
I've noticed Phoenix Elves being popular. Like when I looked at my personal data, I noticed I had like as many games against the Phoenix Elves in the last 6 months or so as I did against the Forged, which is usually pretty uncommon for a new faction.
I think Phoenix Elves are definitely a well-loved faction, and and maybe one of the first ones that new players check out because they're real straightforward.
And they're in the demo too, right? Like when you're learning.
Yeah.
Yes, you play them in the demo, and then when you sign in, you get a random faction out of like 8 or 10 options of simpler, and they're one of those.
Oh, it's not all of the factions.
No, we try not to be, hey, your only free faction is Shadow Elves. They're the
Fungal Dwarves. That's good.
Okay, so Storm Goblins. So I don't know. We may have mentioned their best or worst matchup. Well, we have not mentioned their worst. Whoa. That's rough. That's one of the worst matchups in the game.
My guess is Tundra Orcs.
Tundra Orcs,
or Obsidian Dwarves. I've had good luck with both of those against Storm Goblins.
Yeah, Tundra Orcs, they're only 41%. Obsidian Dwarfs, they are at 42%, so those are tougher. And the Storm Goblins have extreme matchups. They have the 2 most extreme matchups I'm seeing, period.
They are kind of a gimmick faction.
They're shocking.
So their worst matchup is against the Wayfarers, 28%.
I can see that too, because I've been playing Wayfarers a bit and beating Storm Goblins players. So.
This looks like the worst matchup in the game to me. Is their best matchup.
I guess you can keep a lot of separation with the Wayfarers.
It's got to be a clumping faction.
I'm guessing Vanguard.
No, it's 80.6% they're winning.
Fungal Dwarves.
Fungal Dwarves is correct. Ouch. Sorry, Koldak.
Fungal Dwarves was a bad matchup.
Are they good against Swamp Orcs?
The Swamp Orcs, right at 50%. Right at 50%. So
I think Swamp Orcs being able to heal hurts the Storm Goblins' chances.
now this is, of course, there's a lot of matchups. So even though this is representing like 130,000 games, some matchups might evolve somewhere else eventually.
Yeah, and Fungal Dwarves are one of those decks that aren't played that much, so we could be talking about like 10 games of Fungal Dwarves versus or Storm Goblins.
I will say it's literally 50%, so that tells you that it's probably not thousands of games or anything.
I floated the idea before for like tournament plays. It's always been live tournaments that I had in mind, but tournament plays where there's some kind of trick around how you pick your faction, where you have like your 5 factions you can choose from, and you both reveal simultaneously.
You get like one swap or something?
Yeah, and then both reveal a second time or something like that.
Tortugatron has had some interesting formats, kind of similar to that, where like you'll get assigned like 3 factions, and you'll know your opponent's 3 factions, but like that was like the Turtle Surprise, but you each pick one of the 3, knowing what other 3 your opponent can pick from, and that kind of thing.
Right, or here's my 5, and your opponent picks the faction you're going to play or something like that.
I pick your poison sort of thing.
Last new faction is the Forged. So what do you think about their best matchups?
Is it Cave Goblins?
Cave Goblins is up there. And considering Cave Goblin's strength, it's pretty significant. Oh, actually, it might be. It's 67% versus Cave Goblins. But Swamp Orcs are at 68%.
Oh, wow.
But given the sort of the relative overall numbers, that's quite a bad matchup for Cave Goblins.
Yeah, those are 2 factions that are pretty strong overall that Forged are good against.
Well, it sounds like the Swamp Orcs really don't like getting pinged.
Yeah, the Swamp Orcs also don't like normally when you get up close and personal, and Forge can really like take away their summoning spots, do a lot of damage, and just keep building in front of them, keeping the Inventor pretty safe. So
Forged are not rife with bad matchups. Looks like Cloaks, they win 45. Oh, wait, here we go. Sand Goblins is their worst, actually. 39%.
Structures versus structures, son. Structures win.
Again, I had played a lot of Tundra Orcs and Obsidian Dwarves before, and I thought those were decent matchups for them too against the Forge.
Yeah, Tundra Orcs, they actually win that 53. I mean, it's even. It's 53%, and Obsidian is 53%. So it's right along with their overall win percentage. So yeah, it seems somewhat even.
So you're saying Forge win those 53% of the time?
Forge win them 53%. The toughest matchup against the Tundra Orcs, where the Tundra Orcs excel the most, looks like... I'm going to scroll over there because there's so many. The Polar Dwarves. Polar Dwarves only win that 38% of the time. Probably the Polar Dwarves' worst matchup. Looks like it is, by far, yeah. So
After the changes to Polar Dwarves, I really like where they've landed. They seem just like a solid faction. And And like as unique, I think, as some of the newer ones, in that they're so focused on how they're moving their structures around and stuff.
Yeah, some of those master set factions still do some interesting things that nobody else has quite replicated, and just moving a structure on a move is still one of those.
Yeah, it makes for some really interesting turns. What about, so you said Shimmer Sea are currently the weakest. What about like the next couple factions struggling above them? What are the next couple weakest?
Let me look. Go back to overall. Fungal Dwarves are really close at 43, but like they're both in the 43 range.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nick always says, like we're kind of comfortable with them being a bit weaker in general play because they certainly, are a snowball. They're a snowball, and they're better in the hands of a great player. And I haven't looked much at the faction stats. Oh, I need to start the next round, don't I? In the I guess I'll do that right after we finish recording. It's so consistent where in general play they'll struggle, but then in the B tournament they're at 50%, and then let's see if I'll.
I don't think they're doing well in the A tournament.
Okay, so they finally have hit a tournament where they're struggling, huh? Yeah, they are. They're down at 40%. So the pattern has been they've done well in tournaments. Looks like it's not quite holding up, but anyway, yes, it is a fact. They are second weakest in general stats, and looks like High Elves are the other. They're at 45.6%.
Where do Vanguards fall?
Vanguards are at 47.8, so they're right in the range we'd want to see them in, at least for general play.
How many factions are below them? Those three, and then
Looks like, let's see, is there, I think I saw 46 here somewhere. Breakers are at 46.7, which I'd love to, whenever we do an update, I think that at least Blast is kind of a no-brainer that we've been playing forever in tournaments. But yeah, those would be all the factions under them. But I mean, everybody's really close after that.
Yeah.
It's quite a crowd. Whereas, on the other end, we're looking at the Groks at 56 and the Crimson Order at 54 and the Forged at 53. So, but, at that point, that's quite Cave Goblins right at 53 as well.
Are Shadow Elves right in the middle?
Shadow Elves are, they're at 48. So they're just in the crowd. But, that's a
player skill type of thing where there's a few outliers that are very good with them. So
Right. But yeah, these stats do support what we've freely admitted all along, that like, oh boy, these seers with the Groks they've got that bad combo of they're strong and people really hate playing against them.
Have you been getting angry emails?
Not really. It just in the general comments.
Just from our own staff.
Yeah.
Nick comes in every day and he's like, I don't want to play against the Groks.
The thing that I get the biggest complaints about in emails is actually, because people are always surprised by it, is how Blood Summon works for Fallen Kingdom. And the fact that no part of it is, if there's a part of it you can't do, you can still do the rest, which causes surprise wins in which you just kill all your stuff with a Blood Summon in order to pump up warriors and get a win out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, but you know what I mean.
Fallen Kingdom definitely feel like the most out of nowhere wins in base deck.
Oh, yeah?
We haven't decided, because you could just do like a softer run on that and just, insert the word to, or if you do, or something, and it'd be easy to say that, like, oh, of course that's how we intended it, because it is. But I don't love that solution because I love the Fallen Kingdom, and that would make them substantially weaker. So, I feel like a change needs to come with something else, some other fix or something. Like right now, they're fair. They've weathered some of these stronger new factions quite well, and they're doing as well as ever. Plus, that Blood Summon strategy wasn't always, I think, very early on wasn't always possible, and then wasn't really that prolific of a strategy for a while either. They've weathered the new factions well, and they're doing well at 51%. They have a lot of good matchups. Sometimes they have good matchups against good factions. That would really kneecap them. But it should be changed, because that has to be pretty demoralizing if you're a new player and you don't know what's happening to you. You just see Fallen Kingdom units just dropping like flies everywhere around you, and then all of a sudden you die. It's kind of fun thematically.
It's pretty epic.
Yeah.
So do you have any data on like what the most popular decks are in terms of like how many?
Let's see. Played in 2024. It looks like, whoa, how could that be? Oh, okay. So first of all, yeah, Phoenix Elves are still the most played. So it must 6,800 games this year so far. Online games, obviously. We're not counting single player games.
Their strengths are so telegraphed too. I feel like new players are able to like feel really good utilizing their strengths out the box.
Yeah, and that tutorial must really send people there as well, I guess.
Do you know like what percentage that is or no?
Well, he says like 130,000, so maybe that's like 5% of games.
It looks like I misspoke on that. It's about 114,000 games so far this year that have been completed.
I think half of those are Nikki though. She never plays anything but the Phoenix Elves.
That is true.
There's some other players I know that play them a lot too.
Yeah, they're like 6% of all decks. So
Yeah.
when you've got 24, what would be an average there? 1 divided by 24? 4% would be an average amount.
A little above.
Second is the Crimson Order, so that might... Oh, no, I missed one. Man, okay, so the Groks are number 1 at 7,400. Their strength is attracting the players who are attracted to strength.
I know that one of the players that plays the most also mains them, so like...
You're right. Yeah, that could explain all
That
of
is
it
true.
in theory.
Well, also if there's a race for like number 1 overall and that faction has got an advantage in win rate, it's going to attract players.
I know it's kind of like the end of last season. It seemed like 1/3 to 1/2 of my games were against Groks on the ladder. It felt like...
That thins out when new factions are released though, right? Because people want to try the new stuff. And
Yeah, but the Groks kind of like last until the end of the season. Like right now, it already feels like we're not seeing as much Storm Goblins or Shimmer Sea Fae as we might. Groks and Crimson Order kind of like held on for throughout the season. It seemed like.
The other thing is Groks have a very competitive top 10 for their faction because people have played them so much, so people then get pushed to play them even more because they're trying to keep up with other people who are playing them a lot, and then it just spirals a little bit, I think.
Proper top 3 then is Deepwood Groks, have about 7,500 games. Phoenix Elves, 6,800. Crimson Order, 6,700. Phoenix Elves, I think the discussion we have is still relevant. And then, yeah, you have the combination of new and strong going together.
And these are games played, so it's also like the power players are going to show up more.
Obsidian Dwarves oddly beat out the Forged. Obsidian Dwarf, 6,400. Forged, 6,300.
A couple hundred of those are me, I'm sure.
I mean, I have to agree with that number and just say they're just too fun to not be playing all the time.
What's the least amount?
Least. It might be the...
It can't be the Vanguards. People like the Vanguards.
Fungal Dwarves. That's my guess.
It
Dwarves
is
are down there
actually
for sure.
by a pretty good margin. It is the High Elves.
Oh.
They've only got 3,100 games in.
I was talking to Prophet the other day, one of the best High Elves players, and he said he doesn't want to take them to tournaments anymore because they just make him think too much.
It's another one of those high skill factions to get to their ceiling.
Yeah, it is brutal on that end.
They have a real high skill, but I think their floor isn't too bad. You know what I mean? Like I think they're decent.
They are thinky though, and that makes sense to like, I'm giving my opponent advantages. I can't figure that out.
Whereas you pick the Obsidian Dwarves, the Wayfarers, and you're like, all right, I'm just going to go try to blow people up.
It probably feels real shitty if you play the High Elves and it's like, I gave them more benefits than I gave myself due to poor play. I'm not playing these guys again.
Now, the shocking thing to me is in games played is that, of course, Storm Goblins and Shimmer Sea are on the lower end since they're brand new. However, the Shimmer Sea Fae have been played way more, 4,200 games to 3,400 games. Whereas I feel like a lot of the buzz is around the Storm Goblins.
There are a number of people just trying to make Shimmer Sea Fae work, you know? There are a number of players that are like, oh, these are cool. They're fun. Like, I know Ben was playing them a lot. I think, like, the Beast Slumbers was playing them a lot. Just trying to, like, see if they're
Probably
good.
a lot of social credit rewarded if you, like, unlock a faction's potential.
Yeah, there's a gamer personality, even with a competitive player, that likes making the old jalopy work.
I wouldn't call him a jalopy. That's a little rough.
It's not old either, so. This 114,000, that's like a third of all games played. We still are, have a higher elevation. I was looking at like even new signups are still elevated by quite a bit in the last week or two compared to, before the app released. Games are coming in fast. I mean, it broke my Google Sheets. I'm going to have to move on to a professional spreadsheet program next time.
So did the app really increase the player base a lot? Do you have like a number for like, you think like there's this many active players or?
It's still more of a potential for growth, and it's a tool as we promote the game to be stickier with new people, physical and digital. When somebody in my game group just bought a master set because he and his wife had been playing online. I didn't even know they were doing that. It's still more of a tool in the tool belt to help us. I couldn't give you numbers. We definitely want to see revenue grow more. And I also think that Steam will be like that too, another tool in the tool belt to add to that. Now, I couldn't give you numbers on users or anything like that. I have not had time to rig that up, except to say that, our number of new users per day really hasn't gone down. Ooh, guess what did finish though? My games played.
Ooh.
All right. Well, oh no. Wait, stop. Oh no.
He lost it all.
I tried to order it by games played and it disappeared.
We'll never know.
Sorry guys. I did see the top name. Do you want to know it? I think it was a top name the last time I discussed this with you guys.
Sure.
Hemlock.
Interesting.
Oh. Hemlock does play a lot.
And this was all time, by the way. This is all time game. So that goes back a long, and it was a massive number. I think it was like 8,000 or something. So.
Oh wow.
But that's all time. So, we're going all the way back to, I think, probably literally probably August of 2021 or something like that, when we officially released all of the factions that were out at that time.
In the future, I know you have some stuff like this planned, but do you think there will be like more badges and like achievements coming with like Steam release and stuff?
I think that single player mode is going to be the immediate opportunity for that. It's something that I feel that, because every new saga is quite a good amount of work. It's a lot of creative things and writing scripts and editing and even inputting them in. Each saga has a set amount of work to it. Whereas I feel like with this idea for the horde mode, it's something we could keep building off of, building more achievements and badges and, building more features and things into it, because it can sort of provide content on an ongoing basis. So look forward to that. I will say also, to the guy who wants the API to make games that has been doing the draft, that's on my radar too. So many things to do.
Well, we did get a couple of questions from the community, one of which they want to know your guys' favorite factions to play and which ones were your favorites to design.
I mean, to me, I still stick with Obsidian Dwarves. Obsidian Dwarves and Fallen Kingdom is my favorite to play. And Obsidian Dwarves are up there for designing too, because they were one that was them and the Forge. The Forge was very satisfying because we struggled a little bit in finding the right thing, but then when it hit big on fun. So that was a very satisfying process. Colby always says, oh, whatever the new one is. I'm answering for you, Colby. Oh, I always like the newest factions the best, whatever we've worked on. Storm Goblins.
Oh, right now? What's my favorite faction?
Favorite faction to play, and which one was the favorite to design?
Whatever the most recent one. I don't know. One of the more satisfying to design was the Storm Goblins, because it just worked from the jump of being entertaining and different.
Yeah, it was clear right away how fun it was. Yeah.
I'm really enjoying designing the Black Sun Rebellion, just out of pure badassery of them. And I have no idea if they're going to work, so that might run into some headaches that make them come out as less fun, because, challenge.
We will see.
When you have to bang your head against something, the fun factor goes down.
I mean, the Conclave is pretty weird, and I think we had to make adjustments, of course, but we knew that would be the case, and they've pretty quickly found a spot where they're still weird, but making sense pretty quickly. So
Yeah, but they kind of changed it enough that they are no longer they're my idea, but I don't know if I can claim them as my design anymore. I think it's inspired by my design, but I think kind of the core thing that is working about them and why it works has changed a bit.
Well, what about your guys' favorite art or theme in the game?
Oh, I didn't say my favorite faction to play. Might be Mountain Vargath.
Ooh, I love some Mountain Vargas.
yeah, for the theme, I mean, it's hard to beat Sand Goblins.
But I go random every time now that there's a random button.
Oh, nice. Glad that's being used.
I tend to do random too, but if I get a faction I don't like, I'll delete the game quickly.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
that's a punk move. You said you wanted random. Own up to the consequences of your choices.
It's Fallen Kingdom. I'm like, I'm going to just hate every moment of this, so I'm deleting that game.
James, what did you say in the Discord the other day that you want a way to tell the other player that I picked random for Grox and I didn't actually?
Yeah.
I need chat. There's only one that's pre-filled chat.
I picked Grox randomly. Sorry.
It's the only message you can send your opponent.
I hate that, like, kids taunting you in those online games where they have, like, a set of phrases.
Like, well played, well played, well played.
Right, you do something stupid, and they start repeating that over and over.
Yeah, or give you the thumbs up.
That's much worse than a kid just cussing at me out loud.
I don't know how they can spam them so fast. Like, I just can't get to the messages that fast, and now you're giving me 100 thumbs up per minute.
They got to get those APMs up for other games.
There's been a lot of talk in the community about, and a lot of back and forth on both sides. Some people want it, some people don't want it. Some people think it'll break the game, some people think the game needs it. But is there any plans in the future for like an online like Alchemist mode or like seasonal errata? And the Alchemist mode being like you can just play around with whatever you want and change the game numbers wise.
That's not on the roadmap.
Alchemist mode is just open deck building. Is that what you're saying?
No, like if you wanted to like play a private game with a friend or something where like you could change the numbers, like let's say, I want to try a 2/5 Citadel Archer instead of a 1/5 Citadel Archer, and then we'll just
right, and put whatever abilities you want and things like that. That sounds more like an end of life thing. When we are no longer willing to work on the game anymore and we want to release it to the community a little bit. Yeah, that's not on
Yeah, we're playing Alchemist mode over here a little bit.
Yeah.
We changed stuff for tournaments. We've made a couple of erratas.
Right now, for the other thing, it's, I would say currently the status quo is what we're going to keep doing, where we'll start messing with stuff and then very selective in tournaments and then very selectively graduate some of those into
physical errata,
permanent changes. Yeah, pretty happy with that so far. I mean, I don't think it's a huge deal when the digital and physical don't perfectly match up. However, there isn't really a big problem with the current system either. I mean, it's working pretty well. The tournament adjustments aren't like, they don't make the regular game feel lesser than, just regular competitive play. Everything still works pretty well. People are being patient as we see things play out before the next set of official updates. So,
is there anything on the roadmap for more lore on top of like the website or sagas?
I think the bios on the website and the sagas are the only thing merited at this point. Let's turn this into a Pokemon, and I'll get a cartoon out there.
Yes, the Summoner Wars anime. Let's do it.
Yes, we are open to all production companies and mega media corporations just, blowing money on our property. So.
If we're going to spend the money, we have to have the numbers to back that, and we do not. Like a novel.
Right.
You got to figure 0.1% of players are going to read the novel, and that's going to be, by the time you do that, that's like one person. I'm not going to write a book for one person.
I mean, when Bistro's just not writing other things, just
I still have to pay him, so that's still money sunk.
But if the CEO of like the Roku channel or whatever is listening to this
and loves Summoner Wars,
yeah, don't be dissuaded from contacting us.
And loves its original story ideas.
Exactly. We're open.
along the lines of being open to things, I think you guys can probably guess who asked this question, but they asked when the next Divine factions are scheduled for, and I think they're specifically pointing at Divine Water. Tells you anything?
Again,
Did we say that there would be a turtle faction? I don't think we said that, did we? That was in that BGG thread.
I know, I saw that.
Divine Water as a turtle faction, though, that does work. I can see why somebody might ask that. Like I said before, we don't know what the next wave is going to be until we have to start making alpha decks for it, which, is not too far out.
Do you know if they're grouped with any like other known factions you guys mentioned, like Deep Dwarves or?
Yes, it is in the Deep Dwarves grouping. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I have a basic idea for how to make the Deep Dwarves work. Yeah, we could do that.
Do you know the symbol combo for Deep Dwarves? Are they like growth and something, or what?
They are dark engineering.
Dark engineering.
Ooh.
And the idea is like those boost powers is when you summon them, you put 3 boost on them. And if you have at least, you can spend magic to put 3 boost on them. And if the unit has at least 3 boost, it has this power.
Yeah, you're thinking about the Deep Benders as a inspiration.
Yeah, the unlock mechanism.
But that's the base mechanism, that I would like to play with.
Because the first Deep Dwarves were just like spend a magic for an ability.
This would be similar. You're still turning on an ability. And in that case, it would spend a magic to put a boost on it. If it has a boost, it has this ability. But making it have a higher boost ceiling and then giving that for the magic means that they're not going to become overpowered in the decks that can generate boost onto units.
Yeah, the Conclave I think will probably still, they are a little bit more focused on magic specifically as a resource than we've done before.
Which makes sense for their theme and everything.
Right, so that might be sort of a theme upcoming in more than one deck. We'll see.
Yeah, I built him as kind of an overwhelm. You have all of these temporary summons, but you can just overwhelm an opponent. So far, that's always proved to be too overwhelming.
But we need overwhelming decks. We need stuff that just gets in the face and makes it hard. Or just everything will be Deepwood Grokes then, if we don't do that. If we don't have good aggressive stuff.
By the way, I just want to assure everybody, there's some very strong newer factions. It's not, we're not trying to do that.
Yeah, and eventually we will come up with a errata for the Deepwood Grokes. You have my guarantee that is something we will visit. It's just about finding the time to figure out what the right one is, playtesting it. We need to get to a point where we're ahead on playtesting a little bit, I think, to task the playtesters on something like that.
And you really do need to see. We want people to have a full understanding of it and do the best job we've done yet on testing that stuff.
Right. We might not need the playtesters for it. We could do a digital errata first or something like that and see how it plays out. Like a public digital errata.
Kind of like how you did with Phoenix Elves and Tundra Orcs for a bit.
Yeah, I guess we'd already have forged that path.
Turtles, I guess they live a long time and they're slow. Would that be their thing, I guess?
And they turtle. That would be our turtle faction. It would just be the faction of all seers.
You attack them once and then they have to be in the shell for the next turn, they can't.
Or they have the choice to go in and out of the shell into defensive or offensive mode.
Bit of a silly question for you guys. Last time we asked you if every summoner ran for president, who would you vote for? We're switching it up. If every champion ran for president, who would you vote for?
And see, the problem is, who was the Taskmaster in first edition Cave Goblins? He's not around anymore.
No.
But he was a great leader.
He really got things done.
Yeah. He added +1 to all your rolls.
Oh, Mook?
Mook, that's it. Good old Mook.
Great name. Let me pat myself on the back.
I think my choice would probably be Varn. I just feel like he's always putting you first.
Varn is
up.
Exactly where I went to. Well, who's the most cooperative? Cassia the Gentle?
You don't think you need a strong man?
Varn's strong, but he also knows how to cooperate.
Maybe Varn would be the perfect vice president.
Cassia is a good call from the High Elves.
Cassia running with Titus as the vice president.
I don't know if I want Titus in office. I feel like Cassia is kind of the only high elf that isn't an asshole.
What about the peace? They're peaceful.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of underhandedly peaceful.
I think I would go with Vesna Brana. Because Vesna Brana could survive 2 assassination attempts, no problem.
I mean, that might be a bad thing, though.
Joe's already planning for the president to do poorly and therefore need to survive assassination
Right.
attempts.
I'm having real trouble with this one. I'm thinking of like Fire Drake and stuff of like the things that aren't even human. Like, no, that's not a good one.
I think Saruk maybe might be another one. Taking ideas from everybody, very collective, seems like a nice person.
How about the Hellforge? That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Ah,
We'll worship an idol. Going old school.
Tess would be really good at public works, just moving the structures around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that makes a good case for making the inventor the summoner pick for president.
I think Tess would be real bad if the government started repossessing people's houses because she would just move your house to where she wants it to be.
Yeah, but that saves money, so.
Wayfair seem like a pretty altruistic group, though.
Think so.
I mean, they're a little sneaky, but in general, they have good vibes.
They smile. A lot of them are smiling.
They have rogues.
Yeah.
They're a bit of both.
I feel like their rogues they're Robin Hoods.
Maybe.
Could be.
That's one way to look at it, anyway.
How about who's most likely to win the Summoner Wars?
Like canonically.
I mean, I think Retalus.
Really? You think he's just gonna outlast them all?
Most likely. Like, he's clearly the biggest threat, and there's got to be a reason why he's the biggest threat.
He's got the most experience.
Doesn't he have the biggest target on his head?
Right,
though, too?
but it's also like, so do the Kansas City Chiefs, and they keep winning.
That's true. That's true. But you can't kill people in football.
You can injure them.
He's really playing the long game here. I mean, I think you've got to give some support to the Eternal Council and the Vanguards as their sort of structured institutions, right? So,
Yeah.
in particular, the Council, they have to have some staying power.
I put them at 2 and 3, yeah.
Yeah, they have bylaws and things that can ensure their continuation beyond any one individual.
Right. I mean, the High Elves would be in that course too, but I think the High Elves are maybe a little too paint their own target on their heads.
Yeah.
Now, what's going to happen to the fungal doors in the long term? Are they still going to be like sentient, mobile creatures, or are they just going to eventually just be mushrooms?
They'll all be monstrosities. Everybody will be a monstrosity. I mean, that's
I think it's pretty clear
right?
they'll do the Last of Us thing, where it's like, man, and now they're just a pile of spore generating.
So that's pretty good. Isn't the largest organism on Earth a mushroom?
Yeah, it could be the fungal
Yeah.
doors. Maybe they just spread that shit until they conquer. But the Fallen Kingdom are kind of trying to do the same thing. You know, they kill you and then make you part of their side. Same with vampires.
Who's definitely not lasting long. Every goblin faction.
Yeah, they don't have the organizational ability to.
Thrak is not.
He's not the best strategist.
He's gonna shine bright and then.
Yeah.
He'll sabotage his own.
I feel like Thrak's just gonna get taken out by the Mountain Vargath before he ever really shows up on the stage.
Most of the other people don't even know he was in the war. Vargath just took care of him.
He's a footnote.
I mean, I feel like the Crimson Order probably stick around for a while too.
Absolutely.
They've been around for quite a while.
I mean, he's a landowning baron. He's got to have something to his title.
Hey, that's right. I also think anything cold, so polar dwarves, I mean, that's a hardy people. You know what I mean? They survive harsh conditions.
Yeah, they can always fall back to the conditions you can't really invade as well.
And the Tundra Orcs already survived a civil war, right?
I don't know. Have they?
I mean, didn't Colby say there was 2 types of Tundra Orc?
Yeah, but they're not at war, those 2 types. They're just 2 distinct personality types. Their social researchers have noticed and named.
They're orcthropologists.
Yeah, Grognak's of the cold blood, right? So he's the type that, sits back and strategizes, and that's the lesser common Tundra Orc. Most of them are hot bloods. Hot bloods and cold bloods are not at war with one another. One is not higher on the social structure than the other. In fact, I think it's unusual that Grognak was able to claim leadership being a cold blood.
So that's just the Myers-Briggs.
Exactly. There you go. You found the analogy.
All their memes are like, oh, married to a cold blood.
Yeah.
Just wait till the warm bloods get in office. I'll tell you what.
Phoenix Elves, I mean, they're enthralled in a civil war.
What with the prince?
Prince Elian.
Ooh. Are we going to see an alien resurface, maybe?
In the lore, at least, once we launch a website. And I think it's on there, but it's also in their saga. I don't think their saga's up, right?
No. The sagas up are Cave Goblins, Vanguards, and Fallen
Well, we
Kingdoms, I
have
think.
the Phoenix L saga written. A good chunk of it has to do with fighting a war on two fronts, one of them being civil.
Nice.
So is Prince Ali going to make an appearance?
Yep.
Ooh.
You gotta get some art for that?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe that's why the saga's not out yet.
I think Bistro kept him out of actually being in the saga, and I think that was my feedback. No, it was like, well, let's just put him in this one. He was referenced by those involved a lot, but it's just like, let's just give him lines and put him on the battlefield and just do a piece of art. Champion mercenary, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Couple last questions for you guys in regards to some cosmetic stuff and storage solutions. So we have the deck boxes, right? And they're gorgeous, beautiful storage solution. But is there any thought to maybe later on having one that's like storage for everything?
I mean, we don't know that the game's going to go to 66 factions, right? So far, it's looking good. So, maybe at some point we bring that out. Maybe we do a Kickstarter that gives players an opportunity to catch up, and players that are in the game the opportunity to get some new bling, including a big box. But for now, the only planned thing is to continue to do the deck boxes.
Yeah, so if people don't know, like the besides releasing the new deck boxes, we also, like the next 12, the container that holds 6 of them together.
Right.
Really a game changer. And I mean, I think people have a new appreciation for this solution because of that, because it's nice to display, but it also gives you an ability to manage things a little better.
Yeah, you could stack them on top of one another, and because of that, so they fit better into different, shelves and whatnot.
And look real nice on a bookshelf.
And I had, like, the last time the master set was done, I had a bunch of extra dice and tokens made so that we can offer those at a cheaper price if you want to, like, have tokens and dice in all of your packs, which is, unnecessary, but nice.
But if you're looking for compact, yes, that's not the solution.
It might be cool to do, like, a magnetic box that is, and here's where your tokens and dice go, or something like that. A thing for your game mat that also has tokens and dice.
So our old Alliance's first edition box fit what? What did we have, like 48 summoners in first edition, something like that?
40 plus 8 reinforcements pack.
Oh, so that's it. 40. That's where I'm getting that from. Yeah, I don't know. We were pushing the limit of what could be in one box at that point.
That's the other thing. It's like, how big's this box gonna be?
And those decks were even a little smaller, weren't they? Or
yeah, the cards were a little smaller.
I think the individual deck boxes have the advantage of just like, I'll just grab my playmat and this 6. It gives us some options. It's still portable.
But what I'm saying is not that we won't ever have a big solution, but it might not be just like that. It might have to be like a couple of long deck boxes or something. Just imagining or guessing.
I will also point out that these are standard size cards, and there are infinite storage solutions for games that have standard size cards.
Right.
Yeah, there have been some people in the community just using like very long like deck boxes and sticking all the cards in there and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've done. I always liked those like $4 cardboard super long boxes.
But I understand people are like, oh, Summoner Wars is in my collection. I want a Summoner Wars box that has everything in it, but we do not have, TARDIS technology.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about the current individual deck box solution that's nice is we can, have art for each summoner on each product, and therefore we need something that we can make as we go along, whereas like a final solution of what to fit everything, we need to wait longer so that we can include more of what would be to come, that it would be more representative of.
Or we release something that's like, this can hold 66 factions, but without any idea of what it is. And then if we want to have like faction names and stuff, I don't know what those are yet.
Right.
And locking something in this far ahead on a faction name.
Oh, we just figured out those dragons. I mean, even just what they were. Like, we had other deck stuff, and then all of a sudden we were trying to brainstorm. And we're like, oh, dragons.
Air and
Air
fire.
fire. Why did it take us this long to think of it?
Well, another thing that was tossed around is a like simple cosmetic online upgrades for as an option for like season rewards. Some people really want a gate for their faction if they get like number 1 with a faction, even it just has like the faction colors or something simple. But a couple people in the community are like, man, it'd be awesome just to have some faction specific gates.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a cool idea, but it's also like there are a lot of factions. Like you do it for one, you're doing it for all of them, and it's like suddenly I need 30 pieces of art.
Yeah, and if you just customized colors, did some color graphic design work on them, I don't think it would. The coolness of it would wear off pretty quick because you have, like, we have a hex code that's like, the color of the text for each faction, and a lot of them are very, very, very close together because there's only so many colors.
Yeah.
And then there's like, if you're gonna do the gates, like the next thing to ask for is your side of the battlefield is themed for your faction.
If you give a Summon Wars player a customized gate, then the next thing he'll ask for...
Now that, I think, yeah, if you had some custom art that's like a sketch sort of representing their home territory, that'd be pretty sweet.
But, maybe that's how I'll keep Martin busy while I work on the next factions. He's cranking them out.
The side of the battlefield thing is that I'm very keen on that idea, but that's more for sure of an investment.
Yeah, it's got to be something that works with the standard and with one another visually.
Right, they have to match up, but that's not my job to figure that out. So,
nor is it mine.
Well, something that would be your job, Joe, is people have been also asking for the discarded cards at the end of a turn to be like a visible animation, or...
I'd like there to be more animation in the game overall, but just like everything else, gotta develop some kind of priorities.
Right. Yeah, that's the way that is. The stuff I listed earlier, that's definitely my list at the moment. And then after that, it's one thing at a time, honestly. I'm going to keep working on this game regardless.
But yeah, if we released it on Steam and there was suddenly a bunch of new players, then yeah, you could hire a firm to do add in a bunch of animations and stuff like that, like new possibilities.
Right. Yes, that would be the dream, just us having unlimited money.
And then to make a theme park.
And then the theme park. You buy Asmodee and make a theme park.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't want all that debt they're getting.
Inside baseball.
We appreciate you guys being on the podcast with us, giving us insight into the Summon Wars universe and upcoming and current Kickstarters.
Really appreciate you guys running this podcast and being a big part of the community. And you guys and a lot of other people are working hard and doing their part of what they have to
promote the game,
grow the community, and make it a good place. So on the one hand, it's like, oh, I'm glad that we've built something that can inspire that. And on the other hand, though, it's like, wow, we really rely on all those people a lot. So really grateful.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, thanks again for coming on. Been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us. And again, thanks for everything you do.
This has been Discard for Magic, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye.